rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, chat seems a little quiet tonight. I wonder where everybody is. It is getting into spring, so I'm sure a lot of people are like jumping at and trying to get their first cuts in on their lawns, that kind of thing. Okay. How about now? Is that better? Nope. Feedback. Oh, goodness. Give me just one little second here. That should be there. What is that one there? Should be there. There we go. How's that? Is that better? Is that better? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Is that better? A buzzing sound. No. Okay. Let's see. Let's try this. How about that? Nope, still bad. How about that one? Is that better? Yeah, it's buzzing everywhere, isn't it? All right, well, give me just a second here. No. Not that, huh? Okay, hold on. Okay, is that a little bit better? Is that better? Somebody's got to talk to me. Is that better? That clean it up. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what the heck happened, but obviously there's something going on in the background. Okay. Okay, well, there's the, now, there we go. All right. I'm sorry about that. I'll have to do something along those lines. Anyway, okay. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. It was working everything was working just fine earlier. Anyway, let's go ahead and get some things kicked off here. Tonight is the first submission by Bonnie. So Bonnie is up for the flag, for the Pledge of Allegiance for tonight. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, and Yeah, make sure that you place your hand over your heart and do and follow along with Bonnie as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well. Okay. So how have we got, it looks like I have a little bit too much gain according to, Buddy. Let's see if that helps a little bit. All right. So there we go. There was Bonnie. Bonnie, first submission to the Pledge of Allegiance round robin. You'll hear her again, I'm sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and get on with tonight's headline sponsor is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic, through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online, or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Look at this thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant, and there's no glue binding here. This is stitched all the way through the leather and through the pages. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and workmanship defects, such that if there is a problem in that time frame, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the contents contained within will help you study for your civics badge in Scouts. So go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today. And I also encourage you to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings. And I thank them for allowing me to be an affiliate. All right. Yeah, just look at that stitching, G says. Anyway. All right. Well, a couple of things that I want to discuss tonight in particular. Has to deal with the, first of all the lawfare, or, well, the continued lawfare against Trump. And that kind of scenario, they're finally starting to get things back, or fighting back, I guess is the best way to put it. The Trump administration is now forwarding or asking SCOTUS to start getting involved with these things, in particular with these legal issues. In particular, the Trump admin is asking for SCOTUS to block an order from the district judges reinstating the fired federal workers in particular. Trump basically says this is no way to run a government. But the order is to reinstate over 16,000 probationary employees, and it was issued by a Clinton-appointed U.S. District Court Judge William Alsop on March 13th. Now, keep in mind, first of all, just because they were appointed by somebody doesn't necessarily mean that they are a conservative or liberal judge or whatever that kind of scenario falls out to be. You need to understand that sometimes backdoor deals are done, and so not every single time do you have a situation where the judges actually align with, the ideological nature of the individuals that appointed them. Okay. Now, Acting Solicitor General Sarah Harris wrote in the application that having all of these courts going and just, willy-nillying putting orders into place, that is no way to run a government. And she further says in the application, this court should stop the ongoing assault on the constitutional structure before further damage is wrought. Now, keep in mind, this is just one of many that SCOTUS should eventually step in and say, yeah, you know what? You guys don't have the authority. We do, but you don't. Which is the constitutionally correct. The constitutionally correct answer. Okay. But anyway, so the administration before made a similar case against nationwide injunctions when it urged the justices, the SCOTUS justices, to rein in the lower court rulings blocking Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship nationwide. Chief Justice John Roberts requested a response to the administration's request by April 4th. So that's why we haven't heard anything up until now about this. Yeah. The petition filed on Monday stated, emboldened by a lack of prompt appellate review, often occasioned by the use of the TRO mechanism, district courts have now issued dozens of orders without sufficient regard for limits on their own jurisdiction or to defects in the plaintiff's representations about the law and the underlying facts. Those orders have sown chaos as the executive branch scrambles to meet immediate compliance deadlines by sending huge sums of government money out the door, reinstating thousands of lawfully terminated workers, undoing steps to restructure executive branch agencies, and more. The petition continues and says, only this court can end the interbranch power grab. Now, the Supreme Court declined on March 5th to block a different district court judge's order requiring the administration to pay out the $2 billion in foreign aid for work that had been completed. Justice Alito, in a dissent joined by Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh, wrote that he was stunned by his colleagues' inactions. Alito wrote, a federal court has many tools to address a party's supposed nonfeasance. Self-aggrandizement in its jurisdiction is not one of them. So this is going to continue. Now, the one thing that I told you, or I talked to you about, was the fact that if you look in the Constitution under Article 3, which sets up the Supreme Court, it actually provides Congress the power to set up the inferior courts that are down below. So the question becomes, when is Congress going to step in? And I'll read you that statement right here. Number one, the judicial power of the United States This is in Article 3, Section 1, first sentence. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court. And here's the key. And in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. So that means all of the lower courts, the inferior courts, are subjected to Congress. It's the way that works. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that because, of course, many people haven't read the Constitution. But here's the thing. Congress, so far, has been kind of unwilling to necessarily act. Not anymore. Now Jim Jordan, according to drewberquist.com, Jim Jordan is going to hold hearings on rogue judges and political rulings. Well, let's just hear about it from the man, Mr. Jordan himself.
Decisions like Judge Boasberg, what he's trying to do and how that case is working, we're going to have hearings on all of that, because particularly when you look at Judge Boasberg, it starts to look like this is getting totally political from this guy, particularly when you remember he's also the judge who was part of the whole Trump-Russia FISA court, granting those warrants that allowed the Comey FBI to spy on President Trump's campaign. So we're going to look at that issue as well. But hopefully we can get that bill passed next week on the House floor, move it to the Senate, hopefully get it to the president's desk.
What do you think you're going to find here? It seems to me like it's pretty black and white. You go, you find the judge that's going to rule in your favor, and it's been going on for 20 plus years. Yeah, that's why we want to limit it to just that jurisdiction, just the parties of the case, so it doesn't have nationwide implications. But yeah, this is the way the left operates. They go to these judges and they go after President Trump, as the speaker indicated, disproportionately more there than elsewhere. But with Judge Boasberg, think about this. I mean, I think the president, with his order on these gang members, sending him back or sending him to El Salvador, I think constitutionally he's on solid ground. Article 2, Section 1, first sentence, executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. Statutorily, the Alien Enemies Act, predatory incursion, that's certainly what this was. Gang members coming here illegally doing terrible things. And then finally, you got this judge saying this crazy decision, turn the plane around, bring the bad guys back to America. That makes no sense. So when you look at all that, coupled with this judge's history with the FISA court, with the sentence he gave to Kleinsmith, the lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, who altered the document in front of the FISA court, it really starts to look like Judge Boasberg is operating purely political against the president. And that's what we want to have hearings on, this broad issue and some of what Judge Boasberg is doing. And so we're going to start those next week, and we think Senator Grassley is going to do the same.
Okay. So that is basically where we're at with Jim Jordan. Well, it's not just Jim Jordan, though. We also have the House itself. Steve Scalise announced a plan that the House is going to vote on restraining nationwide injunctions and stop judicial overreach. So it looks like all of a sudden the Congress may have decided to step up to the plate and actually do something about this situation. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I know the audio and the video were off in terms of the sound and the lips, but whatever. Anyway, Steve Scalise mentioned that there is a No Rogue Rulings Act legislation that was proposed by Darrell Issa from California. He's a Republican that has passed out of the House Judiciary Committee earlier this month. And so they are teeing up a vote for next week. So next week, the House plans to vote on the No Rogue Rulings Act. to limit the judicial overreach of partisan federal judges issuing political nationwide injunctions to impede President Trump's agenda. The majority of the American voters elected him to carry out, Scalise said. Federal judges have issued more than a dozen injunctions during the first couple of months of the new Trump administration, including orders that are hindering the DOJ effort and blocking the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, as legal battles focused on government actions play out in court. While some Republican lawmakers and Trump himself are pushing for some of these judges to be impeached, GOP leadership in the House seems to be more inclined to go with legislative response and hearings, at least for the time being. Now, I don't necessarily believe that all of these judges should necessarily be impeached, but they do need to, and I think this is one of two methods. The first method, of course, is that SCOTUS basically saying, yeah, you guys don't have that power. Number one. The second one is through the Congress, and Congress basically saying, yeah, you guys don't have that power, and because we never gave it to you, which would be, again, constitutionally correct. So we're going to have to kind of see where this goes, but it looks like at least some people in the Republican Party in the Congress are looking to at least do something about this situation. All right. Well, Trump has gained a small but a significant victory on the Russia-Ukraine a deal and agreement in a step forward toward coming to an end in that conflict. The Trump administration announced that it has successfully pushed Russia and Ukraine to reach separate agreements with the United States on a truce that will ensure safe passage on the Black Sea, along with a ban on either country conducting strikes on energy facilities. So the United States and Russia have agreed to ensure safe navigation, eliminate the use of force, and prevent the use of commercial vessels for military purposes in the Black Sea. Reuters reported that both countries have agreed to allow the United States to enforce the deals. Both Ukrainian President Zelensky and Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov stressed that for the ceasefire to be successful, the United States itself has to provide the guarantees. Zelensky said at a press conference, if the Russians violate this, then I have a direct question for President Trump. If they violate, here is the evidence. We ask for sanctions. We ask for weapons, etc. Speaking for the Russians, Lavrov said, we will need clear guarantees, and given the sad experience of agreements with just Kyiv, the guarantees can only be the result of an order from Washington to Zelensky and his team to do one thing and not the other. The agreements, while not a total ceasefire, are the biggest steps taken toward a long-lasting peace deal since Russia invaded Ukraine over 3 years ago. The separate agreements were mediated by U.S. officials in Saudi Arabia after President Donald Trump spoke to both Zelensky and Putin last week. In the agreement, the Trump administration promised to help Russia gain access to markets for agricultural exports after numerous countries hit the Russians with sanctions following the outbreak of the conflict in Ukraine. The White House added that President Trump will continue working toward achieving a durable and lasting peace. So, yeah, it's a step forward. It may not seem like a big step, but it is definitely a step forward for this. Now, unfortunately, the Trump administration and White House have been hit with, well, we'll call it their first scandal of this term. Not assuming, of course, that there are going to be many more scandals. I hope that this is the one and only one. However, apparently, prior, and you recall me talking about the strike on the Houthis, prior to that strike on the Houthis, the Trump admin people in particular, we had Mike Walls, we had J.D. Vance, VP, and we had Pete Hegseth in what appeared to be a chat on a chat app called Signal. Now, Signal is apparently one of those. Now, I don't use it, but from what I understand is Signal basically is a chat functionality where essentially the chats can be deleted fairly quickly, right away, and it's a more secure chat app than some of your regular text messaging and IM messaging chats. So apparently, and this I did not know, but at least according to Senator Tom Cotton, the Biden administration authorized the Signal app for communication between top officials. And the Biden administration itself apparently found that Signal was, quote, consistent with presidential record-keeping requirements for its administration. And so it just sort of carried on into that. So, yeah. Anyway, Cotton, who chairs the Senate Intelligence Committee, appeared on Fox News on Tuesday and suggested that the outcry over the top Trump officials using the encrypted messaging platform to communicate is, quote, misdirected, as the use of the app began under the previous administration. So here's what happened, okay? Now, first of all, keep in mind, this Atlantic, okay, the Atlantic magazine editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, he has been at the center of several of the hoaxes with Trump. The one that I really remember him for had to deal with the suckers and losers hoax. Okay. So, anyway, what apparently happened is Jeffrey Goldberg apparently was mistakenly added to a Signal group of Trump officials that were discussing the plans to attack the Houthis. Okay. And so, yeah, a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing is scheduled for featuring two officials also included in the group, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, is apparently going to have some questions with regards to this. But the key here is that, first of all, this guy, I don't know why he got added, but he mistakenly got added to this group. And thankfully, the man, believe it or not, kind of kept his mouth shut and didn't immediately let anybody else know that he was in the chat. And granted, you could look at that one of two ways. I mean, he obviously, in his somewhat journalistic sense, was trying to glean, more information about it. But the thing about it is that he decided that discretion was the better part of valor and didn't say anything until after the attack had already happened. Because apparently during this chat they were talking about the particular types of weapons that were going to be used, where the attacks were going to take place, and other types of potentially classified information with regarding all of this. And so there we go. Now, the question is, first of all, how did they get added? And there's some supposition here, because apparently Jeffrey's handle on the Signal app is just the initials JG, which apparently may go along with somebody else who was supposed to actually be a part of the chat with the initials JG. There's also some question as to who actually added him. Now, some outlets are reporting that it was Pete Hegseth. Some outlets are reporting Mike Walls. So there's still some question as to what's going on. It's generally believed that it's going to be somebody on Walls' staff that added the individual. And Mike Walls has a statement with regards to this. He made a response during what appeared to be a cabinet meeting. Yeah, what appeared to be a cabinet meeting on this. And so let's, as soon as I can get it, to respond here, well, maybe I'll get lucky. No, it's going to be... All right. Well, anyway, sorry about this, but I was going to play the video and let the man himself say it in his own words, but apparently it didn't come out. So, Mike Walls responded to the report in The Atlantic, where Walls made the remarks to reporters during a meeting on Tuesday where other administration officials were present as the president signed some executive orders. First of all, he said that he has never met or communicated with Jeffrey Goldberg. He also stated that there are a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves by making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. Those are a couple that are out there that The Atlantic may have been a part of. And this journalist in particular, I've never met, I don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into him, reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But Walls continues and said, but I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them. Our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. It's actually a little over 300 times, by the way. And President Trump took decisive, active action with his national security team, took out the head missileer. Come on. There we go. Okay. Where did he say? Where did I end here? Took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites, and for once, as we hear, as you all hear, from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. Okay? So, anyway, the point being here is that there's still a bunch of unknowns that we have with this particular situation. Now, there have been calls for Mike Walls to lose his job. There have been calls for others to lose their jobs as well because of this particular situation. And so Speaker Johnson responds to that. This was today. House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he did not believe that anyone should lose their job in response to a controversy regarding a journalist inadvertently added to a Signal group chat in which the Trump administration officials discussed plans for airstrikes on the Houthi terrorists. Here's the thing, folks. I mean, let's face it. During the Trump first term, there were so many leaks. So many times that stuff was leaked out. There were unnamed sources. There were all kinds of things that were going on. I mean, seriously, something like this. And by the way, too, keep in mind that, even though the left is sitting here calling for heads to roll because of this, they seem to neglect the fact that back in the Obama years, there was a Secretary of State who had a unsecure private server that was collecting and sending emails with classified information that the FBI admitted on national television was more than likely accessed by foreign state actors and very well could have grabbed several bits of classified information from it, and that the FBI neglected to bother to even prosecute. And so that is essentially the line in the sand that set up this entire situation to where going after these people is relatively, for criminal behavior, okay, is relatively a moot point. You also, too, have the idea that during the time that they're attempting to prosecute, or in the process of prosecuting Donald Trump for allegedly taking classified documents, you had the then sitting vice president, okay, the then sitting vice president who took documents from when he was a senator. Folks, calling for these guys' heads for accidentally getting somebody into a Signal chat group is, let's just call this minor, extremely minor. There wasn't anything really, I mean, at least according to Tulsi Gabbard, there wasn't anything completely classified that was discussed. So anyway, we're just going to have to kind of wait for what's going to happen here. Johnson emphasized during his response how the White House has said that there were no actual war plans were discussed in the conversation. And that's how the Atlantic editor-in-chief Goldberg had characterized the Signal thread in which he was included. Johnson also pointed out that the White House denied that classified materials were sent to the thread and is looking into how the number was inadvertently added to the chat. I mean, how often did we have in front of, the first Trump administration, how often did we have secret whistleblowers leaking information out to the public with regards to all of this? I mean, seriously. So, come on, folks. Is it bad that this person got added? Sure. Could it have gotten even worse than what it is? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that this is obviously just a small mistake. This wasn't anything necessarily to get all excited about with regards to this entire situation. I mean, yes, it was a mistake. It was a serious mistake. But in the grand scheme of things, did it really do anything? No, not really. The Houthis still got hit. They still got damaged. And yeah, so there you go. Now, obviously, the question is going to be, how do you prevent this from occurring in the future? maybe not use a publicly accessible app, such as Signal, for your internal communications. Just saying. But anyway, I think that the left are making it out into more than what it actually and truly is. So, but anyway, let's see. So the White House itself, like I said, it already recounted the incident. Yeah. So, and according to him, he's the one that wrote that the Signal user who added him into the group chat, apparently unprompted, was named Michael Waltz. So, the writer wrote, or Goldberg wrote, that he assumed that the Michael Waltz in question was President Donald Trump's national security advisor. Yeah. So he also recounted that the other names that were in the group chat included J.D. Vance, T.G., which was Tulsi Gabbard, Scott B., possibly the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, and MAR, which Goldberg noted is the initials of Secretary of State Marco Antonio Rubio. And the question that I have is, if Scott B was actually the Treasury Secretary, what could he have been in that chat for in the first place? But whatever. So in a request for comment from the Epoch Times, the White House National Security Council spokesman Brian Hughes did say that the group chat that Goldberg was included in looked to be actually authentic. So, yeah. Now, when Trump was asked about it, of course, Trump just basically said he had no knowledge of the episode, which he probably didn't at the time. Yeah. So he's like, I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. Okay. Now, also too, there is some question, because apparently during this chat back and forth, there was a little bit of a odd, what was called responses by J.D. Vance, which potentially indicates that there may not be a total unity on what they are, what the end goal actually is with all of this. Okay. J.D. Vance kind of made a suggestion that maybe we shouldn't get involved with this quite yet because of hearing quotes, and again, these are just hearsay quotes here, but quotes saying, JD was saying, well, why do we have to bail out Europe once again? Well, the thing about it is, though, is that we are not necessarily bailing out Europe. I mean, yes, Europe would be the biggest benefactor because, let's face it, the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, which the Houthis were terrorizing, is a large shipping lane for Europe itself, rather than going around the Horn of Africa, of course. But the thing about it is, though, is that there might be some question as to whether or not the Trump administration is actually fully on board with the idea that we should be doing this I personally think it actually is our job, especially over the fact that our ships, our Navy ships, were attacked over 300 times. 319 is the last reported number that I've heard. And so we should be, unfortunately, doing that, especially in the fact that, again, they attacked our ships. Had they not attacked our ships, there could be some question as to what's going on with all of that. But we shall see, again, as the investigations are going to start flying over all of this. And so, yeah, I'm just confused realistically as to why they'd be using Signal and not something particular for it. But yeah, the Democrats, of course, are going to be making it the biggest deal ever. In fact, Senate Minority Leader Chucky Schumer, Chuckles, said that Signal is an unsecured app that's not approved for sensitive military operations of the kind that Goldberg was allowed to see. So obviously Schumer is going to be looking at doing an investigation into it. So yeah, there you go. Even though Tom Cotton kind of mentioned that, yeah, that was already approved by the previous administration. So anyway, yeah. So there we go. We got our first quote unquote scandal out of the way for all of this. Well, this little scandal hasn't really stopped anything in terms of the movement toward going after and protecting American shipping lanes and others from the Houthis. Here in common defense, Hegseth sends 2 carriers to the Middle East in escalating campaigns against the Houthis. And so now apparently there's a second carrier group that is going over there. Now let's see which ones. I'm trying to recall which ones these are. So the Harry S. Truman was already over there. And now the USS Carl Vinson is heading over that way. The Harry S. Truman will remain in the region for at least another month. So the Carl Vinson, which was performing joint exercises with the Japanese and South Korean forces in the Yellow Sea and the Sea of Japan, is now en route to the Middle East. The Vinson was originally scheduled to return to San Diego in 3 weeks, but its deployment has been extended by 3 months. The U.S. official said, "The decision sends a clear message to Iran and its proxies that the United States is fully committed to defending its interests and partners in the region." So the dual carrier presence brings enhanced capability for patrolling critical sea lanes and launching offensive operations, while also serving as a strategic deterrent. The Houthis have obviously ramped up attacks in the region since the late 2023, targeting commercial and military vessels with missiles and drones. So, yeah. Between November of 2023 and January of 2024, the Houthis carried out over 100 attacks, sinking 2 ships, killing 4 sailors. The group claims the assaults are aimed at pressuring Israel to halt its military campaign in Gaza against Hamas. And so, yeah, American forces over the weekend and into this week, American forces unleashed a wave of air and missile strikes targeting Houthi missile launch sites, radar systems, and drone storage facilities. So, yeah. So there we go. And again, this is a stark departure from the approach taken by the Biden administration. There we go. TDS therapist over on X says, The change to Signal that facilitated the use of Signal in intergovernment instant communications was the inclusion of crystal kyber quantum resistant encryption to the Whisper protocol. Yeah. Some people might pick that up. Anyway, for Chuck Schumer to call it insecure is quite possibly the funniest thing I've ever heard come from his mouth. Anyway, yeah, there you go. So, reference to, I think it's Star Wars in that. Anyway. All right, folks. Well, I don't know if anybody heard, but the newest mouth of the South, maybe that's what I'll start calling her. Anyway, the newest mouth of the South decided to spout off, and now she might be in a bit of trouble over this. So the latest and loudest member of the Democrat Party, doing all of the wonderful shows and everything else, and standing up, with regards to the attacks on Trump, her attacks on Trump, and so on and so forth. Well, Jasmine Crockett opened up her mouth and did what Democrats do, which is essentially claim innocence, but yet sit there and attack her supposed enemies. Apparently she, what was she doing? She taunted Governor Greg Abbott of Texas as Governor Hot Wheels. Now, the thing to remember is Governor Abbott is permanently paralyzed from the waist down and uses a wheelchair. I thought the Democrats were the party of inclusion. I thought the Democrats were the party of tolerance. I thought the Democrats were the party of, inclusivity and equity and, nicety and all of this other stuff. Yeah, well, anyway, apparently Representative Randy Weber announced today that he intended to introduce a measure moving to censure Jasmine Crockett for her disgraceful and vile attacks on Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Weber said on a post on X, "I plan to introduce a bill to censure Jasmine Crockett for her disgraceful and vile attacks against our governor of Texas. This kind of rhetoric has no place in Congress." Weber was responding to a report from Fox News on his plans. Liz Elkind, a reporter for Fox News, also shared a copy of the congressman's draft resolution. It noted that Crockett spoke at a human rights campaign event in a manner unbecoming a member of Congress, calling the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, Governor Hot Wheels, and also saying that he was a hot-ass mess. I guess this was on March 22nd was when this happened, or this occurred. So, yeah. Anyway, should Weber decide to offer his censure resolution as quote-unquote privileged, House leadership would have 2 legislative days. Is that kind of like work days, I guess? Yeah, maybe. Anyway, 2 legislative days in order to take action on it. So, obviously, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said on X, Jasmine Crockett is despicable. In the thread that Crockett tried to defend herself, stating and claiming that she wasn't thinking about the governor's condition, but rather about Abbott transporting migrants to communities led by black mayors. Yeah. She further insisted that she did not mention or allude to his condition and called the controversy another distraction. Yeah. Weber's draft resolution stated that Crockett's remarks were not just discriminatory in nature, but also the latest in a continued series of inappropriate comments. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, Jasmine Crockett has done things like this in the past. For an example, on May 16th in 2024, Jasmine Crockett was talking about Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she flung the words bleach, blonde, bad built, butch body. And then that was after, of course, Greene took a shot at Crockett, saying that I think your fake eyelashes are messing up what you're reading. Now, you'll recall that Crockett actually made a T-shirt about that and misspelled her own name in the signature. These are the type of people that we're dealing with. Yeah. Anyway, apparently she was also asked, and thank you for the reminder, Nana of JJS. She was asked a little bit about this, and she was being asked about this, and the reporter who apparently had a phone, was using his phone as a camera or whatever, and she went and grabbed his phone. And so the guy, according to Nana, has filed charges against her, charges of assault. Yeah, we are, yeah. Now, just for the record, the House has censured the following people in the last recent years: Paul Gosner, Democrat Representatives Adam Schiff, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman. Yeah. Earlier this month, 10 Democrats also joined with 214 Republicans in voting to pass a censure resolution against Representative Al Green. Remember him standing up and, shaking his cane at the president while the president was addressing Congress. So, Buddy points out that Crockett can't speak properly. Well, Buddy, I think you'll recall I played a video of her being able to speak properly. She's playing to a certain segment of society. Okay, she does that on purpose. She's doing that to attempt to gain favor from certain people. And so, yeah, she can speak properly when she needs to. Anyway. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe the newest so fresh, so face darling of the Democrat Party might be in further trouble. All right, folks, that is it for me for tonight. Now, tomorrow is Whiskey Wednesday. It's also Pet of the Week, but I don't have a pet, folks. I need a pet, people. Please send in your pet. Send it in to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. If you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com. Get yourself an account. It is free. Once you are signed up and signed in, then make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget before you take off to hit those thumbs up and like buttons across all my platforms, whether it is YouTube, Facebook, X, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Sorry about the audio issues in the beginning. Hopefully tomorrow will be better. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.